Our next presenter is Jimmy LeFlore. He's an artist here in San Antonio. He's a San Antonio native who previously served for 20 years as the City of San Antonio Public Art Manager. He grew up in Alamo Heights and is a graduate of the Kansas City Art Institute. He says his professional career granted him a great opportunity to work alongside hundreds of artists and to play a role in our city's planning and growth that he never would have imagined back in art school. His current passion project is to engage with the community again, but from the vantage point as a mentor, an advocate, and a fellow member of the art field. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to hit the space bar.
Hello. Before I begin, I just want to say how terrific it is to be with an audience who's so curious and interested to learn about tonight's diverse topics from these distinguished speakers. It's a true honor to be included. PechaKucha SA is such an important program. In a relatively short time span, I've seen how society has collectively adapted to living with new norms of communication, which are often substandard forms of communication. These new norms run the gambit from punitive or accusatory to silent. PechaKucha SA's format communicates by way of introducing and reuniting groups of people, which is so wonderfully helpful and needed. So I feel honored to be part of it tonight. Recently, I listened to an interview explaining why Leonardo da Vinci was prevented from following in his father's footsteps and becoming a notary. His obstacle was that he was born outside of wedlock, and his birth status meant he was legally banned from going to college. For me, da Vinci's misfortune is an example that demonstrates how our journey toward cultural enlightenment can be tenuous and often filled with many obstacles to be overcome. The creative path is often blocked by these obstacles, by injustices and twists of fate. Regardless of the obstacle, the journey always requires tremendous talent and perseverance. With da Vinci as a reminder of the historically important role of artists, I want to emphasize the importance of the artist community here in San Antonio, past, present, and especially future. By reminding me of art's importance, I want to discuss my rekindled passion for why art matters. My passion is on the creation of a new resource for the arts, which has two purposes: to provide greater advocacy and support for working artists and the cultural workforce, and to broaden our community's engagement regarding issues of critical importance to advancing the field. The images on the screen are imagery that hint at my time spent contemplating these new initiatives. For those who don't know much about me, I grew up in San Antonio into a banking family. However, like Leonardo, my path was never to follow in my family's profession. My family supported my artistic path, and as I said, I graduated from Kansas City Art Institute. I have had terrific mentors that furthered my knowledge of art and arts administration. In 2000, the city hired me at a pivotal time in the first years of a new public art policy. For 20 years, I worked with elected officials, city staff, and community partners. Best of all was my time spent with artists, architects, and the core of hardworking public art staff. My job was to lead the city in planning and delivering public art commissions and art master plans. Some of those key initiatives included the San Antonio River Improvement Projects, From the Mission to the Pearl, integrating public art into 5 city programs, engaging in almost all of our neighborhoods, including art in 4 airport expansions, 2 convention center expansions, introducing art into the hemisphere redevelopment, the city's first permanent % for art ordinance. My last major project was the conception of a public art garden located downtown and commissioning the Stargazer as its first major artwork. My career granted me a rare perspective, allowing me to understand how our city works politically, economically, and behind the scenes, how our community responds to art funding, and to the tourism mindset, and how essential it is that artists are recognized as irreplaceable assets. Artists literally change our city for the better, time and time again. And hundreds of community members serve as art advocates who have stepped up to champion cultural causes for decades. Without them, where would we be today? So for a moment, would each of you close your eyes and imagine what it would be like to live in San Antonio today without any of our citizen artists and their work along with cultural institutions that brought us to where we are in 2024? Consider living in a place without these cultural icons and treasures. How would you feel? Without artists, our culture becomes barren. Recall the San Antonio Conservation Society and its fight for historic preservation. Recall the many local grassroots organizations who fought for art, free expression, and people power to bring change. Now, as always, we must continue to come together as advocates for arts, especially as our population swells and new development dominates the headlines. We live in a time where the speed of change simply outpaces the broader community's capacity to organize and gather consensus. So we must work hard to raise standards, to defend artists' rights, to retain thought leaders. Good stewardship will ensure our cultural legacy goes on. We cannot stop. I see a lot of great art happening and progress, but we must look deeper. You see, if the public and consumers only identify arts and culture with what is trendy, marketable, and attractive on the surface, the glow of cultural enlightenment goes dim. The community must be aware of the whole package of art, including artistic expression and economic challenges facing artists and art organizations. We need new economic studies and input from business leaders to ensure that the art economy fares competitively. We need more art leaders to be represented in positions of influence. It's only getting harder. Resources are drying up, even though demand keeps going. So how do we do better? Who has the responsibility to improve conditions so that the art field is on pace to support the next century of growth? I've discovered 3 preconditions that must be met in order to answer those questions. We need an effort that has total autonomy from public and private sector influence. We need broad inclusion, especially in cross-disciplines like business, development, and tech. We need no marginalization or compromise in achieving excellence. We've done this work before. It's time to do it again. We need to ensure real, lasting support which extends beyond our lifetimes. What I'm doing to get this started is establishing Art Field Agency, which is an initiative I will use to keep asking important questions and build momentum. In the past 2 years, I've met with dozens of my artist friends and colleagues about ways we might work together to achieve long-term benefits for the community. The feedback is, yes, strengthen the art field, invigorate the arts economy, grow collaboration, so we will be more resilient when trouble strikes next. Artist studios are full of tools and innovations that make great things come to life. They create agency for artists to realize their dreams. That's what I imagine Art Field Agency to be about, just scaled up to the size of the 7th largest city in the nation. I'm excited to explore a new genre of public art, where it is the public that commissions themselves to create the future of art that we've all been dreaming of together. Thank you. Finished on time.
Thank you so much. Those stairs are very nerve-wracking. Okay, I wanted to ask you, because in the beginning you talked about Leonardo not being able to attend college because he was born out of wedlock.
Yeah.
And I think that that sort of speaks to a lot of artistic, small, like little minds that are present in San Antonio that maybe don't have the economic access or advantage to be able to really do art as a profession or even know that it's possible. What would you say to those young kids?
I would say that Similarly, even though I wasn't as disadvantaged, the idea of public art, where you could go and you could see art on the scale of other city buildings and infrastructures and landmarks, it gives the promise that there is an opportunity for artists to actually have a place in society and to be able to do things that are of a stature, that are economic and that are important. And I think that people across the country have fought for public art policy for that reason, so that artists across all different walks of life would have opportunities to be seen. And I think that that essentially is one of the beauties of public art.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then, yeah, heck yeah, that's amazing. And then, like I said, I've been in San Antonio for a little while now, and there's public art that I can recall seeing. Like, I don't know if anyone else here remembers, but near Art Pace, there was a big water tower that had a giant chief's head painted on it. And as San Antonio continues to develop and grow, we see a lot of those beloved pieces that maybe weren't sanctioned go away. Can you speak to any efforts towards preserving maybe the unsanctioned art, the importance of that?
I think it boils down to the idea of a community that's an advocate for the arts. And so if things happen and they're not done in a manner that's fully engaging the community, so the community understands the importance of the artwork, they understand how, the artwork is the last thing to happen. All of the work that's done to build community consensus and interest in the concept and the selection of the artists is really kind of where the magic happens. And so when people understand all that goes into making an artwork happen, it makes it much more likely that they'll fight to keep it.
Okay, yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.